it feels very much like Selen has been turned into something of a martyr. At Nijisanji, there has been a broad fan revolt that's been going down after the termination of her account. And in many ways, some would consider libelous or slanderous description of her character. And so it's been interesting. So there's been some memes about the CEO of AnyColor, the corporation that owns Nijisanji, being a 26-year-old billionaire, and how he has allegedly spent money on a yacht. That is unconfirmed, unsubstantiated. It's mostly just a meme, but there's been a growing movement that they are calling Sink the Yacht, which is metaphorically, of course, of people wanting to protest Nijisanji. And it's a very difficult situation, and I think it's interesting to see how content creators are reacting to it, because it's one of the first times I feel that many content creators are potential victims of boycotts or cancellations or things like that, which is interesting because I think that a lot of the time content creators are very quick to call on essentially burning down, say, AAA game studios, TV makers, movie producers, whatever, and typically don't really give a shit about the people that work on those things. And so it's kind of interesting / ironic, perhaps, that now that content creators are would be feeling pain from it, that people are kind of like, whoa, pump the brakes. I don't know if we should just think about the talents. It's like, yeah, unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society, and you can't harm a mega corporation without it negatively impacting the people who depend on that mega corporation for their livelihoods. So you can't have it both ways, really. And I want to make it clear that you should never harass the talents. You should never go to them and be shitty to them as people, because they are innocent. They didn't do anything. They don't deserve to be harassed. But with that said, I think it's perfectly valid and reasonable for people to cancel their subscriptions, cancel their memberships, and stop buying merchandise from Nijisanji. And the sad truth is that the only way to do that is a big part of how they get their money, the talent, that is. But at the same time, if you don't do that, then everything's going to keep happening the way that it has, unless the talents walk out en masse. And if the talents walk out en masse, then you not buying their goods won't change anything for them, because they're leaving anyway. But it's been interesting that a lot of people have been sort of having the opinion that you shouldn't do something that would hurt their mental state by unsubbing. And it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not saying that you should do it. I'm just saying I think it's totally valid, and it does motivate them to move to companies. And I don't think that it's really the consumer's responsibility to try and make the talents change their minds. So I also wouldn't be advocating for it in the sense of some kind of misguided, like, well, they need to learn the message that their company sucks. It's like, they know, and and if you want to do something about it, then that's fine. And if you don't, that's fine too. But it's tough. And it's also kind of ironic, because there's been reports from prior talent that the cut that the talents get from merchandising is extremely low. We are talking 1 to 3%, okay? 1 to 3% of the merch sale price goes to the talent. That is abysmally low. They do not get a ton of money from that. Nijisanji does. And of course, a lot of that goes to the companies that are making it as well, right? Much like, every step in the ladder has to get cuts, but 1 to 3% is abysmal. And things have somewhat been coming out about comparing the different companies, and it sounds as though Hololive, obviously sort of their main competitor to Nijisanji in the large corpo sphere, pays their talents salaries. And it is true that their talents also have to do a lot of stuff out of pocket. Not all of it, but they have to do a lot of stuff out of pocket. But it's a lot easier to make those things out of pocket when you're being paid a pretty decent wage. And we don't have exact numbers on what their monthly wages are, but based on some financial disclosures and sort of averaging it out across the talent, it looks pretty high. And again, from a business perspective of if we scale it down to the talent side, you know, a number can look big, but when you're looking at it as a business where you have to then invest that money into your own products, so it's not like that's your take home, then it becomes less or more reasonable. But the fact is they are getting paid to do that. And by all sounds of it, Nijisanji does not pay a wage. They do not provide insurance, which I have heard is a reason that they tend to scout people from Canada, because Canada has universal healthcare and the United States doesn't, and they don't provide healthcare, which is insane. That's incredibly petty for a company that's rated at $2 billion to not provide healthcare. Wild. They don't provide wages, and they expect their talent to pay things out of pocket and to fund their own debuts, to fund their own, pretty much just everything, right? And as more people have been speaking up about the Selen situation, artists, contractors, things like that, there have been multiple reports that Selen paid them out of pocket and they were never reimbursed by Nijisanji. Or, you know, one of them said, I didn't sign an NDA with Nijisanji because they sent me the paperwork 5 times and it didn't have the correct name on it any of the times. And I refused to sign an NDA that didn't have the correct name on it. And apparently they got sent another one the night before Selen's termination, and it still was wrong. And so it's like the level of incompetence shown is staggering. But it feels just like a Minecraft XP farm where you just like put your little villagers into their little slave boxes and give them no sunlight and only an adequate amount of food. Yeah, no, that sounds great. But it's wild. It's wild. And so a day or so after the Selen termination, the Nijisanji had an investor meeting or whatever. And they put out a statement to their investors about the effect that it would have on the financials, because again, Selen is one of the largest talents on the EN side of things. The financial disclosure was 2 sentences. It was on February 6th or whatever it was. Yeah, on February 6th, we have terminated Selen Tatsuki from the Nijisanji EN branch. The fiscal impact will be negligible. Which, I'll be a little fair, is one of those things that, you know, on the grand scheme of things in large businesses could theoretically be true, but it's a real bad look, especially given the size of her and her popularity and the controversy of her termination. Yes, source, trust me. Exactly. Wild. The level of malfeasance is stunning. Shocking. Except I'm not shocked, sadly. But anyway, that really made some people mad, and including various brand partners that they've had. So in the days following that statement, there have been several groups that make either fan-made art in conjunction with it, or the one that came out today is a company called Hyte, Hyte, which makes sort of gamer mouse pads, keycaps, and keyboards, and those big chonker PC cases with the beautiful art on them. And they are gorgeous, and they are a brand that I didn't actually know the name, but I know their products. And they have deals with several large Hololive and other VTubers, and apparently they did have deals with Nijisanji, and they put out an announcement saying we are dropping all Nijisanji merchandise henceforth. And allegedly there's a screenshot of one of the people from that company that had highlighted the Nijisanji financial statement, and they said, I guess we're negligible then. And then that's when they removed all of their store accounts for Nijisanji, which is, again, wild. They must not have corpo HR if they're dragging her publicly. Absolutely unhinged. I'm not a lawyer, but probably a case against Niji if Selen chose to pursue that. So here's the thing. I think they probably do have HR, but I don't think that they have American HR, because everything about this situation is very Japanese corpo in that it is entirely company focused and very, there is never an admission of doing something wrong. And it's very, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but very monolithic and very, I don't know, that's just kind of the way that they deal with these things a lot of the time, especially these like big companies, and especially idol companies, because idol companies have insane contracts with their staff, or with their talent, and control pretty much everything about it. And once they're gone, they kind of just low-key blacklist them, which obviously they can't blacklist a North American talent in the same way, but it feels very much like an extension of that industry and corporate culture. I want to be very careful to not say it's Japanese culture as a whole, but it is very Japanese corporate culture. In similar ways, you see things like that when people criticize, say, Nintendo for their abysmal online infrastructure, and they basically just say, this is the way we do things. We will take no input because we do not value it. It's just like, what? It's wild. It's mind-blowing that a giant company can just say, we literally don't care or pay attention to what our competitors are doing. We do the things that we like, how we want to do them, period, no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's anti-consumer or just a bad product. It's just how we be, right? So in that way, I think that it's very much exactly the type of announcement that they give out on the JP side of things and kind of just expect it to fly. And they probably get less pushback in Japan because of the blacklisting aspect, where if you push back, you know, you get into serious trouble. And it actually came up that they, in the termination notice, they said something to the tone essentially that she defamed the company. And I saw somebody comment this, and so I had to look it up. In Japanese law, also Japanese IP law is very draconian and very anti, it's very pro-corporate, very draconian. It is considered slander to damage a company's reputation, even if you are telling the truth. It does not matter if what you're saying is true. It is defamation to damage the reputation. Period, full stop. It explicitly states in the subsection of their laws that it does not matter if it is true. Statements that damage the reputation is considered slander. And so when you look at it from that perspective, I guess you can kind of see why their HR department looks non-existent, because from their perspective, they could probably sue her and win, because they're like, well, your statements have damaged us, and it doesn't matter that what she said was true. Incidentally, their original announcement where they said that she slandered them for making misleading statements, that management privated the videos, got community noted as false or misleading, because in their own document that they had, they said management privated the videos because we were not satisfied with the permissions securing process. And then 2 sentences later, they said that Selen took to Twitter to complain that management privated the video, which damaged our reputation by making false statements, which that's you 2 sentences ago, you literally said that that's what you did. That's literally the definition of a true statement. So, but the fact that they think that that's fine is, you know, it's just that way. And it's kind of wild. And what was the other thing? There was something else I was going to say about the Japanese. Oh, similarly, like the fair use thing. Japan does not have a fair use defense for copyright. So in America and in Canada, I don't know exactly what the regulations are in Canada, but in America, you are allowed to use a portion of an IP for other content if it is for the purpose of doing something transformative with it. And so you can't claim that you made that thing, but you can use images or short bits of that thing. So a main reason that this is important is for any kind of news or journalism. They have the right to show a clip or picture or whatever that a company put out as evidence or a reference in their story because they're talking about it. They're reviewing it. Same with games journalists, all that. They show clips and snippets of things, again, not stolen things that are out there publicly. And that's okay because that's fair use because they're taking it and then they're telling you a news story about it, commenting, critiquing, reviewing, etc., etc., etc. Japan has no such law. You need to get express permission from the rights holder in order to use that media in any shape or form, no matter what, which can lead to very monolithic power structures where you just can't criticize them and use any of their property. And so there was actually a fairly large controversy maybe a year and a half ago between two of the major VTubing news YouTubers, False ID and Kyo, where they talked about Nijisanji information. And so Nijisanji basically got mad at them and did copyright takedowns of every single one of their videos that had any images of Nijisanji talent in them, because basically they own the rights to that IP and they just said fair use doesn't exist. We're just copyright, checking all of this stuff. And ultimately, I think that it was finally reviewed, and that sort of brings up an entire separate issue about YouTube content ID and rights holder arbitration, because that's flat out illegal to do, or not illegal, but it's against YouTube TOS to copyright claim people when they are doing something that's 100% fair use, because YouTube is an American company, so those creators absolutely had the right to do what they were doing with it. But it's a lot harder for an individual to fight that. So anyway, Nijisanji's had a history of bad behavior. So now that they've lost the Height brand deal, it's also been shown in the past, I think 12 or 24 hours, that their stock price is down 12%, which is kind of hilarious. That's not an insignificant dip, although I will say that I'm not going to call that a huge win, because ultimately the money will come back and it probably doesn't really matter. But, 12% is 12%, and who knows if it could go farther. I would not be surprised if we see a continuing revolt on the part of various brand sponsors and partnerships, as well as other talents leaving over this. There have been a number of Nijisanji talents that have been leaving the company, and I don't remember which one of them said it, but one of them kind of low-key said that there was a line that, like a queue, if you will, of people waiting to leave because they basically couldn't all leave at the same time. And if that's not the most fucked up thing you've ever heard, like, who knows what's coming next? They literally just had somebody at the beginning of last month or in the middle of last month say that they were leaving, and their final stream with Nijisanji is in a week or two. And it was not Selen, it was somebody else. And they had Mika from the ID branch, who their branch kind of got folded up, and she just essentially decided to disappear. Who knows if she'll be back? I suspect she will. But then the other two prominent members who left and have joined V Shoujo since. And now with this Selen termination, I could easily see it being a catalyst for other talents to just say enough is enough and fuck this noise. So it'll be really interesting to see what's coming down the pipe for them, because that's a yikes. It's not a good look for them, and there are clearly massively persistent problems. Anyway, there were a few things that I wanted to leave off on before we move back into the game, but Selen, now under her former identity of Dokibird, has now crossed 300,000 subscribers on YouTube since this debacle came out a couple days ago. I believe beforehand she had maybe 40,000 or less from before she had become Selen, and she did her first stream tonight a couple hours ago, 2.5 hours ago as of the time of this recording, and her first stream in several years, and there were 130,000 people watching live. 130,000 people watching live, which is insane. That is bigger than a brand new HoloLive talent debut, which those are very big. Often those hit up 80, 90, 100K. That is insane, especially because she's not monetized. It's actually hilarious because I believe she was a Twitch streamer before, not a YouTube streamer. Exactly. And I believe she was a Twitch streamer before, so Nijisanji members stream on YouTube, not Twitch. And so I think that her channel was just very small. And so she's not even monetized, which is hilarious to have an unmonetized channel, have 130,000 people watching. But during that, she dropped some bombs. Actually before that, she tweeted out, she has obtained a manager, apparently a well-known behind-the-scenes manager as an indie now. And she said, I will read this, I quote, "I cried when they told me I shouldn't have to fund my own projects and that sponsors can actually help with that. They are a really good manager, well-known behind the scenes. I told them I'll only hire them if they can provide me 3 things that I want. And one of them was a PC sponsor. And they said that should be possible." That's, I'm gonna say it. That's not a big ask. Those are some pretty bare bones, pretty minimal requests to have. Can I have sponsorships and not have to fund everything myself? And yeah, they said, yeah, that's fine. Okay. So bringing us back a little bit to the Dokibird's first stream, she was talking about her discussion with her manager on stream just a couple hours ago, and they were going over her financials, and she did not turn a profit last year. She did not turn a profit because she had to fund all of her own projects and was not able to accept direct sponsorships because she belonged to an agency, and the agency's payout for things was so bad. And do you know how much money that was? Because she said it straight up. She spent $200,000 last year on her company activities. $200,000 that were not reimbursed. Those were just out of her pocket to run all of the activities that she ran last year. And like she almost cried, / did cry when her manager basically said, yeah, exactly. She did cry when she basically said, like, you can get help. That's fine. I mean, those numbers are astonishing. It's astonishing. And I can't believe it, to be honest. And anyway, it was on a lighter note. There were a lot of funny moments from the stream. I was watching it all the way up until the moment that I started the stream. There were a lot of funny moments about her starting to say something, stopping, and then saying, oh yeah, no, I can say that now. Which you always know, of course, that anybody with corporate affiliation has to be extra aware of brand harmony and all that shit and not saying things that are too controversial, right? One of them was that she started talking about Pal World, and then she was like, oh no, yeah, no, I can just call it Pokemon with guns. They can't call it Pokemon because, you know, Nijisanji has a good relationship with the Pokemon company, so they can't just say that because that I'm certain that is something that was discussed. Further, she was talking about Neopets, and which I mean, good for her, whatever. I don't actually know anything about Neopets really, but I love that she loves that. And she was talking about how she was like, well, now that they're not, oh, actually I can't, wait, I can say that. Yeah, so Neopets used to be owned by Scientology, and then they tried to turn it into NFTs, and then they sold it back to somebody who basically reverted all the bullshit. The fact that she can't say that it was owned by Scientology is fucking wild. It's wild. It's for an industry that's all about entertainment and personality, to put a leash on people to not be able to state just commonly known facts. I mean, I didn't know it, but you know, obviously that's not breaking some sort of NDA. That's just PR bullshit. Yeah, apparently. I believe it got bought by Scientology, but wild. Absolutely wild. So yeah, it's been a very crazy couple of days in the VTuber infotainment sphere, and a lot of stuff has been coming out. It's been bad. It looks like another talent may be under stealth suspension because in her membership stream, she said something like, go ahead and unfollow and unsubscribe under, like, leave membership, which is the paid version of following on YouTube. Like, if you want, basically saying, like, sort of tacitly supporting the protests. And then, she tweeted out that she had an important meeting and then hasn't been heard from since. Like, it wasn't exactly please unsubscribe, but it was basically like, yeah, I don't care. Like, it's fine. Like, you know, she wasn't saying it in a bad I don't care, but just like, yeah, go ahead, do it if you want. It's fine. So listen, another major talent may be getting stealth suspended, and who knows if that's enough for her to just say fuck it. It's a developing situation, and listen, I love myself some good tea.